You have to love it when you find out about new awesome local hikes. While we were doing some research for new hikes on all trails, we came across Upper Hot Spring Canyon. It seemed like people were really enjoying it, and it's not too far from our house, so we figured we would check it out. Just a small heads up, to do this hike you will need either a National Forest Service Adventure Pass, which is about $30 for the entire year, or you can use the America the Beautiful Pass like we have. As you get closer to the trailhead, the road slims down to one lane, so be sure to watch out for oncoming traffic. The trailhead for Upper Hot Spring Canyon is located just past the Falcon Group campground. We had timed it pretty well because a car was pulling out of a parking space right when we got there. It appears that there are some shoulder parking options, but the parking lot for this trail only holds 6 cars. We spotted the trailhead before I did. It's a little bit discreet and it's located behind the parking lot. About 1/10 of a mile into the hike, you are going to come to your first fork. You need to make a left here to stay on the trail. The hike starts off nice and flat, but you will be experiencing about 450 feet of elevation change over the course of the trail. You're going to be going downhill on the way out, which means of course that you're going to be climbing on the way back. Even though this trail has a round trip distance of only 3.6 miles, don't underestimate it. This trail has a lot of climbing over and under trees, scrambling, balancing on rocks, and water crossings. All of these factors come together to make it a pretty decent hike. A short ways into the hike, you should encounter water. You will be zigzagging over the stream several times over the course of the trail, but as long as you stay near the water, it should help keep you from getting lost. I'm saying should because we did get just a little bit off trail on the way back, and you'll see that in just a little bit. Another hot tip for this hike is that this area has little to no cell phone reception. So be sure to download any maps that you want for offline use, and it might not be a horrible idea to bring a tracker like the Garmin InReach just in case you need help out here. We've only been here once, so I'm not sure exactly how much of the year you will encounter water. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with how much of a rainy season we had here in Southern California, and we all know that rain out here can be a little bit rare at times. But you should definitely plan accordingly and wear shoes that give you a ton of traction even when they're wet. The last thing you want to do is twist your ankle trying to rock hop out here in the middle of nowhere. We spent a pretty good amount of time on this portion of the hike climbing up and down the hills on the right side of the creek. There were some parts where the trail got just a little bit faint, but if you looked hard enough, you would find it again. It seemed like the vast majority of the time when the trail disappeared, it was because we had to climb higher. Soon we came to the longest water crossing of the hike. Most of the time when you cross the stream on this hike, you're going straight across, but this one actually went in the direction of the stream, so it was a little bit trickier. Immediately after the stream crossing, you are right back to climbing. This is why it's important that your shoes work well when they're wet. If there's one thing that this hike is not short on, it is water crossings. Well, that and a few overgrown areas with bushes that will try to reach out and grab you as you go by. Most of the water crossings have a bunch of stepping stones to help you get across, but you do need to be careful. Not all of the stepping stones are super solid, and we did see one hiker go down really hard on one of the crossings. Luckily, I think he was a little bit more embarrassed than he was hurt, and he was able to continue on. About 1.25 miles into the hike, you should come to a large flat area. This is the top of the first waterfall. Unfortunately, there is a lot of graffiti on this hike, which is really too bad because it is a pretty waterfall. If you're planning on continuing on past the first waterfall, you're going to need some wayfinding skills. The trail becomes much less defined, but as long as you stick by the water, you're still going to be fine. A lot of people do turn back at the first waterfall, but as you'll see in a bit, the waterfalls further down the canyon are quite a bit more beautiful, and they were definitely worth the additional effort if you're up for it. And if you're really looking for an adventure and you have the experience and gear, there is a canyoneering route here. But just a heads up, this is a very challenging canyoneering route and it's rated 4B. It's said that it takes experienced canyoneers 10 to 14 hours to complete. We obviously didn't have the gear or the manpower to attempt it this day, but maybe we'll come back and do that some other time. Enough about canyoneering though, let's get back to this hike. As you get a little further into the hike, the waterfalls will start to appear much more frequently. Depending on the amount of water flowing through the canyon, this could be as simple as a small hop over the water, or it could be very challenging at this point. A lot of the rocks here have been polished smooth by the water flowing over them over the years, and they can be really slippery, so please be careful. If you're a big waterfall fan, you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck on this section of the hike, because not only do you have the waterfall that you just jumped over, but there's another one just around the bend. None of them are anywhere near as big as the waterfall at the end of the trail, but any of them would make a great spot to stop for a snack or to take a break. At this point, you are getting pretty close to the end of the trail. If you're running a tracker or some sort of an app like Strava, the end of the trail should be somewhere around the 1.6 mile mark. There was one more tiny tricky climb right before you get to the last waterfall, and it's right here. It's not that it's high up or sketchy, it's just that it's slanted at an angle and it's a little bit challenging. After that climb, you have officially made it to the end of the trail. I do say end of trail kind of loosely because we have seen pictures of people that went a little bit further, but I checked and it gets really sketchy after this waterfall. Unless you have serious technical skills, I would turn back here. The flow of the waterfall here is going to dictate the view that you're going to be able to get. If it's flowing pretty good, I would not get anywhere near the edge. It's about 25 feet down, and you're going to bounce off a lot of rocks on the way there. I mentioned the Canyoneering Route earlier, and that was the first rappel of the canyon. We had the whole place to ourselves for quite a while, and it was really nice, but eventually it was time to get back. This is an out and back trail, so you are once again going to be following the creek on the way back to the trailhead. The way back is going to be just a little bit more of a workout because you are going to be climbing up the hill, but the main part of the climb doesn't start for quite a while. We ran into another hiker that said that we should come back and do this trail again in the spring. This would not only give us the chance to see some wildflowers, but he said there's also a small chance that you might see some salamander lizards here as well. After he left, we took the opportunity to do a quick trail cleanup and then we kept on our way. I think it goes without saying, but if you decide to visit, please be sure to practice leave no trace principles. As with most hikes, it seemed like we made really good time on the way back, and before we knew it, we were back at the first waterfall. If it wasn't for the fact that we did this hike in January and it was a little bit chilly out, it would be fun to hang out in the pool at the bottom of the waterfall. The trail here is a lot more defined than it is after the first waterfall, so we were feeling pretty confident that we were pretty much home free. That is, until we got past the last water crossing. I'm not sure exactly how we did it, but we ended up taking the wrong turn at a fork and heading the wrong way. As we made our way up a long and steep hill, something was definitely seeming like it wasn't right. Luckily, as we turned back, we could see the trail that we actually needed to be on through the trees. This ended up being a prime example of why you always want to track your hikes. This was just a small slip up and a very easy fix, but having a breadcrumb trail to follow or to help get you back on the trail can be a lifesaver. If you're looking for more awesome hikes in the area, click up in the top corner now for our video about Sit and Peak, which is just up the road. If you enjoy our adventures, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because those are the best things that you can do to support this channel. Check us out on Instagram at @thatadventurelife_official. And for all the information about this hike and other awesome hikes to do in California, head on over to thatadventurelife.com.